My name is Abigail Miller. I'm 34 years old, and I still remember how my hands trembled when I got that call from the police. 8 years of marriage to Ryan, my college sweetheart, reduced to ashes when Officer Bennett asked about his partner Miranda Fisher. Partner? What partner? In that moment, standing in my lab coat with test tubes surrounding me, I felt my perfect world crumble. I never imagined I would soon be burying everything I thought was real. Before I tell you how my picture-perfect marriage shattered in seconds, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Please subscribe if you're new here. Trust me, you'll want to hear how I reclaimed my life after the ultimate betrayal. Ryan and I met during our junior year at Boston University. I was studying biochemistry while he was pursuing finance. Our first meeting was straight out of a romantic comedy. I literally bumped into him at the campus coffee shop, spilling my latte all over his pristine white shirt. Instead of getting angry, he laughed and asked if I'd let him buy me another coffee. That was the beginning of what I thought would be our forever story. After graduation, we moved in together and got engaged a year later. Our wedding was everything I had dreamed of since I was a little girl. 200 guests, a magnificent church ceremony, and a reception at one of Boston's most prestigious hotels. My father, with tears in his eyes, walked me down the aisle to where Ryan waited, looking devastatingly handsome in his tailored tuxedo. When we said our vows, I truly believed nothing would ever come between us. We settled into a beautiful colonial-style home in Brookline, a charming suburb just outside Boston. I landed a research position at a pharmaceutical company working on groundbreaking cancer treatments. Ryan quickly climbed the corporate ladder at his investment firm. On paper, we were the couple everyone envied. Sunday brunches, dinner parties with friends, annual vacations to exotic locations. Our Instagram feed was a highlight reel of our seemingly perfect life. You and Ryan are literally couple goals, my coworkers would say, scrolling through photos of our anniversary trip to Bali. But around our 6th year of marriage, subtle changes began creeping in. Ryan started working later, his phone constantly buzzing with notifications he'd quickly dismiss. When I asked about his day, his answers became vague, distracted. The passionate kisses goodbye turned into quick pecks on the cheek. Our conversations grew shorter, more superficial. It's just this big client deal, he'd explain. Once it's closed, things will go back to normal. I believed him because I wanted to. I compensated by trying harder. I'd prepare his favorite meals, plan surprise date nights, buy new lingerie he barely noticed. I convinced myself it was just a phase, a temporary rough patch all marriages go through. My best friend Stephanie saw through the cracks before I would admit they existed. Abby, when was the last time Ryan actually spent a full weekend with you? She asked over coffee one Saturday morning while Ryan was supposedly at an emergency work meeting. He's under a lot of pressure, I defended, stirring my coffee more vigorously than necessary. His boss is really counting on him for this merger. Stephanie gave me that look, the one that said she wasn't buying it. I'm just saying, you deserve someone who makes you a priority. I changed the subject, uncomfortable with the direction our conversation was heading. The hardest part was our struggle to conceive. For 2 years, we had been trying for a baby. Each month brought the same disappointment, the same tears hidden in the bathroom so Ryan wouldn't see. He'd initially been supportive, holding me through the disappointments, accompanying me to fertility appointments. But gradually, he became distant during these moments too, offering robotic comforts without really being present. Maybe we should take a break from trying, he suggested after another negative test. The stress isn't helping. I agreed, hiding how much his apparent relief hurt me. The morning before that fateful call was so ordinary. That's what haunts me most. Ryan kissed me goodbye, said he loved me. I noticed his tie was slightly crooked and fixed it for him, our bodies close for that brief moment. He smelled of his expensive cologne, the one I'd given him for Christmas. Don't wait up, he said. Meeting might run late. I nodded, used to these late nights. I'll leave a plate in the microwave. As he walked out the door, I had no idea it would be the last normal moment of my life. That afternoon, I was completely focused on my lab work, running tests on a promising new compound, when my phone rang with an unknown number. Had I known how that call would change everything, would I have answered? Mrs. Miller? This is Officer Jessica Bennett from the Boston Police Department. My heart immediately skipped a beat. Police calls never bring good news. Yes, this is she, I replied, moving to a quieter corner of the lab. I'm calling regarding your husband, Ryan Miller. There's been an accident. My mind immediately conjured images of a car wreck, Ryan injured and alone. Is he okay? What happened? He's been transported to Massachusetts General Hospital. His condition is critical but stable. Her professional tone softened slightly. His partner was also injured, though less severely. Partner? I repeated, confused. You mean a colleague? There was a pause on the line. No, ma'am. Miranda Fisher. She's listed as his emergency contact alongside you. The world tilted beneath my feet. There must be some mistake. I don't know anyone named Miranda Fisher. Another uncomfortable pause. Mrs. Miller, perhaps you should come to the hospital. The doctors can give you more information about your husband's condition. I thanked her mechanically and hung up, my mind spinning. Who was Miranda Fisher? Why was she listed as Ryan's emergency contact? A colleague he'd never mentioned? A friend? The alternative was too painful to consider. I mumbled an excuse to my supervisor and drove to the hospital in a daze, nearly running a red light. My hands shook on the steering wheel as memories began flooding back. The late nights, the business trips that seemed to multiply, the passwords suddenly appearing on his phone, the way he angled his screen away when texting. All those warning signs I'd rationalized away now screamed their true meaning. At the hospital, I gave Ryan's name at the reception desk and was directed to the surgical floor. A doctor approached me, clipboard in hand. Mrs. Miller? Your husband is still in surgery. The impact caused significant internal bleeding and a collapsed lung, but we're optimistic. What happened? I managed to ask. Their car collided with a guardrail on the highway. Witnesses say another vehicle cut them off. Mr. Miller was driving. And the woman with him? The doctor consulted his notes. Miss Fisher has a broken arm and facial lacerations, but she's been treated and is resting comfortably. Where is she? The question came out sharper than I intended. He pointed down the hall. Room 412, but Mrs. Miller, given your husband's condition. I was already walking away. At the nurse's station, I spotted Ryan's belongings in a clear plastic bag. His wallet, keys, phone. I hesitated only briefly before taking the phone. His password. I needed his password. Sitting in a nearby waiting area, I tried various combinations. Our anniversary. His birthday. Nothing worked. Then, on a hunch, I tried Miranda's name. The phone unlocked. My hands trembled as I opened his messages. I didn't have to search long. There she was. Miranda. Thousands of texts stretching back over 18 months. Miss you already. Can't wait for tonight. When are you telling her? I scrolled in horrified fascination. Pictures. Intimate pictures. Plans for trips together. Screenshots of house listings. Room 412. A passing nurse reminded me, mistaking my shocked stillness for confusion. Outside the room, I paused, my hand on the door. Who was this woman who had been sharing my husband's life? What did she know about me? I pushed the door open. She was beautiful. That was my first devastating thought. Early 30s, long auburn hair, even with her face bandaged and arm in a cast. Her eyes widened when she saw me. You must be Abby, she said softly. No surprise in her voice. She knew exactly who I was. And you're Miranda. My voice sounded foreign to my own ears. The emergency contact. She had the decency to look uncomfortable. I'm sorry you found out this way. How long? The question escaped before I could stop it. 18 months. The same time frame as the text messages. We met at a property showing. I'm a real estate agent. I nodded mechanically, processing this information. 18 months. While I was tracking my ovulation and crying over negative pregnancy tests, my husband was building a life with another woman. There's something else you should know, Miranda continued, her hand moving unconsciously to her stomach. The gesture registered before her words did. I'm pregnant. 14 weeks. The room spun. Ryan had always said he wanted children. We'd been trying for years. And now, he was going to tell you after the closing on our house next week, she added, as if this information might somehow soften the blow. We've been looking for months for the perfect place. So considerate of him, I replied, my voice dripping with venom. Planning to leave his wife right after securing property with his mistress. I'm not his mistress, Miranda snapped, her compassionate facade cracking. I'm the woman he loves, the woman carrying his child, the woman he's choosing. Something inside me broke at those words. The woman he's choosing. As if I'd been part of some competition I didn't even know I was entered in. As if our 8 years together was just a trial run for his real life with her. I turned to leave, unable to bear another second in her presence. He never loved you, you know, she called after me. Not really. He said you were convenient, comfortable. Like an old sweater he'd outgrown, but couldn't bring himself to throw away. I didn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me cry. I walked out with my head high, made it to my car, and then completely fell apart. The drive home was a blur. I don't remember stopping at red lights or making turns. Somehow, I found myself in our driveway, staring at the house we'd chosen together. The house where I thought we'd raise children. The house that now felt like a museum of lies. Inside, I moved through rooms seeing everything with new eyes. Our wedding photo on the mantel. Had he been thinking of leaving even then? The couch where we'd cuddle during movie nights. Had he been texting her while I nestled against him? Our bed. I couldn't even look at our bed. In his home office, I began searching. If Miranda knew about me, there must be evidence of her in our home. I found it in his desk drawer, beneath tax documents. A separate credit card statement I'd never seen before. Hotel charges. Jewelry purchases. Restaurants too expensive for a business dinner. A receipt for a weekend in Vermont dated during a conference he'd supposedly attended alone. Then I found it. A folder labeled New Property. Inside were papers for a condominium purchased 6 months ago. Not just viewed or considered. Purchased. In his name only. The perfect love nest, a starter home for his new family while he figured out how to disentangle from me. I sank to the floor, documents scattered around me, and finally called my sister. Heather, I sobbed when she answered. Ryan's been cheating on me. To her credit, she asked no questions, just said, I'm on my way, and hung up. While waiting for her, I pulled out the bottle of expensive bourbon Ryan saved for special occasions. Special occasion indeed. The end of my marriage. The end of my life as I knew it. I drank straight from the bottle, welcoming the burn. By the time Heather arrived, I'd moved on to scrolling through Miranda Fisher's social media accounts. Every smiling photo felt like a knife to my heart. Oh, Abby, Heather said, taking in my disheveled appearance and the evidence spread across the floor. She sat beside me, pulling me into her arms. I'm so sorry. 18 months, I said through fresh tears. She's pregnant. They bought a condo. Heather held me tighter. That bastard. I was trying so hard to get pregnant. All those fertility appointments. All those negative tests. And he just knocks her up without even trying. What happened? How did you find out? I explained about the accident, the hospital, Miranda's cruel words. Where is he now? Heather asked. Still in surgery, I think. I don't know. I don't care. But that was a lie. I did care. Despite everything, some traitorous part of me still worried about him, still loved him. And I hated myself for it. The next morning, nursing a vicious hangover, I received a text from an unknown number. Ryan's asking for you. Thought you should know. Miranda. She even had my phone number. I didn't respond. I couldn't face him. Not yet. Instead, I called the hospital for an update and learned he was out of surgery and stable. Then I went back to obsessively stalking Miranda online. She was 32, divorced, no children. Her professional website showed her standing proudly in front of luxury properties, specializing in helping clients find their forever homes. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd certainly found her forever home with my husband. Over the next days, I discovered more. The secret apartment Ryan had purchased was in Miranda's building, a convenient setup for their affair. I found dinner reservations, weekend getaways, all carefully hidden from me under the guise of work commitments. Ryan tried calling repeatedly. I blocked his number. Miranda sent more texts, some apologetic, others subtly triumphant. He's asking about the baby. The doctors say he'll make a full recovery. We still want to make this transition as painless as possible for everyone. As if betrayal could ever be painless. A week after the accident, Heather convinced me to see a lawyer. You need to protect yourself, she insisted. Who knows what he's planning financially? She was right, of course. The lawyer, a stern woman named Patricia, listened to my story with practiced sympathy. We'll need to act quickly, she said. Especially with another woman and child involved. Have you checked your joint accounts recently? I hadn't. When I did, I discovered Ryan had transferred most of our savings to a private account 3 months earlier. For a real estate investment opportunity, he'd said at the time. The real estate, it seemed, was his new life with Miranda. 2 weeks after the accident, Ryan was discharged from the hospital. He didn't come home. According to the hospital, he was released into the care of Miranda Fisher. I imagined them in their secret condo, playing house while I rattled around our marital home alone. That night, I received an email from Ryan's lawyer. He wanted a divorce. He wanted half of everything, including our home. He claimed I was unstable and vindictive and worried about his safety if I knew where he was living. Me, unstable? Me, vindictive? I hadn't even confronted him about his betrayal, and he was already painting me as the villain. The next day, Miranda posted a selfie on Instagram. Despite her still healing facial cuts, she was radiant, her hand resting on her slightly rounded belly. The caption read, "Grateful for second chances and new beginnings. Baby Miller, we can't wait to meet you. Baby Miller." My name. The name that should have belonged to the child Ryan and I created together. She had stolen everything, even that. I began driving past their condo building just to torture myself. One evening, I saw them. Ryan walking with a cane, his arm around Miranda as they returned from dinner. The casual intimacy between them broke something in me. The way she supported him, the way he leaned down to kiss her hair. All the little gestures that had once been mine. I followed them more after that. Learned their routines. When they grocery shopped. Which Dr. Miranda saw for prenatal appointments. Which physical therapist Ryan visited for his accident recovery. I took detailed notes, as if studying an alien species. In a way, they were alien to me. This Ryan was someone I didn't recognize. Someone capable of building an entire separate life while sleeping beside me each night. Heather became increasingly concerned. "Abby, this isn't healthy," she said, finding my notebook of their schedules. "You need to see someone. A therapist." "I'm fine," I insisted, snatching the notebook back. "You're not fine. You're obsessed. And you're pushing away everyone who cares about you." It was true. I'd stopped returning calls from friends. Taken a leave of absence from work. My world had narrowed to just this, understanding how my life had imploded. One night, after tracking them to a prenatal class at the hospital, I sat in my car in the parking garage and stared at the bottle of sleeping pills in my hand. It would be so easy to just stop feeling this pain. To disappear and leave them to their perfect new life without the inconvenience of the discarded first wife. I opened the bottle, poured the pills into my palm, Such tiny things to end such enormous pain. My phone rang. Heather, as if sensing my darkest moment. I answered automatically. Abby? Thank God. I've been calling for hours. Where are you? The concern in her voice pulled me back from the edge. I looked at the pills in my hand, suddenly horrified. What was I doing? I'm not okay, I finally admitted, my voice breaking. Tell me where you are. I'm coming to get you. As I waited for Heather, I poured the pills back into the bottle. No, I wouldn't give Ryan and Miranda the satisfaction of my destruction. If something was going to be destroyed, it wouldn't be me. 2 weeks after the accident became 1 month, then 6 weeks. I existed in a fog of grief and rage. The divorce proceedings loomed, our first mediation scheduled for the following week. Ryan's lawyer was aggressive, demanding half of everything despite Ryan being the one who had betrayed our marriage. He claims the stress of your fertility struggles drove him to seek comfort elsewhere, Patricia informed me during our prep meeting. He's painting himself as the victim. That's ridiculous, I sputtered. I was the one tracking ovulation and going to appointments while he was apparently impregnating his girlfriend. Patricia's expression remained professionally neutral. We'll counter, of course. The infidelity and hidden assets work in our favor. But you should prepare yourself for an ugly battle. Ugly didn't begin to describe it. I learned through mutual friends that Ryan had been telling people I was emotionally abusive, that I had trapped him in a loveless marriage, that I had become obsessed with getting pregnant to the exclusion of all else. The narrative he created made Miranda his savior rather than his mistress. I don't even recognize the person they're describing, I told Heather after hearing these rumors. How can people believe this? People love drama, Heather replied grimly. And Ryan's always been charming. He knows how to make people take his side. The humiliation was overwhelming. Everywhere I went in our community, I imagined people whispering. Poor Abby couldn't keep her husband interested. Poor Abby, so desperate for a baby she drove him away. Poor Abby, replaced by a younger, more fertile model. Meanwhile, Miranda's pregnancy updates continued on social media. 18 weeks and feeling those first magical kicks. Nursery planning time. Each post tagged with #BabyMiller and #BlessedMama. I finally blocked her accounts, unable to bear any more, but the damage was done. The images were seared into my brain. The sonogram pictures. The tiny onesies. The growing bump that should have been mine. Then came the day I had to meet with Ryan face to face at our lawyer's offices. Seeing him walk in, thinner from his hospital stay, but still handsome, still the man I had loved for over a decade, nearly broke me all over again. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Throughout the 4-hour mediation, he spoke only to the lawyers, as if I weren't even in the room. When I directly addressed him about the emptied savings account, he simply stated, I was protecting assets I knew she would try to keep from me and my child. His child. With her. Never our child. Never the family we had planned. When the mediation ended with no resolution, Ryan brushed past me in the hallway without a word. I watched him walk to the elevator, my entire body trembling with rage. Ryan, I called out, unable to stop myself. Were you ever going to tell me? Or just disappear one day? He turned, finally looking at me directly. There was no remorse in his eyes. No recognition of the pain he'd caused. I was waiting for the right time. The right time? I laughed bitterly. After 18 months? After buying property with her? After getting her pregnant? When exactly was the right time? He sighed, as if I were a troublesome child. This is exactly why I didn't tell you. I knew you'd make it all about you. It is about me. I'm your wife. Abby, keep your voice down, he hissed, glancing around the hallway. This is why I had to leave. Everything is a drama with you. I stared at him, this stranger wearing my husband's face. Who are you? I whispered. I'm someone who's finally happy, he replied coldly. Something I never was with you. The elevator arrived and he stepped inside, leaving me shattered in the hallway. That night, alone in our house, I drank an entire bottle of wine and then made the mistake of checking Miranda's Instagram. She had posted a photo of Ryan kissing her belly with the caption, "Daddy can't wait to meet you, little one." Hashtag 20 weeks, hashtag halfway there, hashtag my forever after. Something in me snapped. The knowledge that while I sat in our marital home surrounded by the wreckage of our life together, they were playing happy family. The injustice of it burned through me like acid. I opened my laptop and created a new document. At the top, I typed, "Plan." Beneath it, I began to list all the ways I could make them pay for what they'd done to me. For the next week, I researched obsessively. My pharmaceutical background gave me dangerous knowledge about untraceable substances. My newfound stalking skills provided me with their detailed schedules. All those years of being the perfect, accommodating wife had taught me how to smile while plotting vengeance. Heather stopped by unannounced one evening and found me surrounded by research materials, my eyes red from lack of sleep. "Abby, this has to stop," she said, taking in my disheveled appearance and the manic energy radiating from me. "You're destroying yourself." "They destroyed me first," I replied, not looking up from my laptop. "Look at yourself." She grabbed my arm, forcing me to face her. "When was the last time you showered? Ate a real meal? Talked to anyone besides me?" I had no answer. "I've made an appointment for you with Dr. Winters. She's a therapist who specializes in trauma and betrayal." "I don't need therapy. I need justice." "This isn't justice, Abby. This is obsession. And it's killing you." She was right, of course. But I was too far gone to admit it. After she left, I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. Hollow eyes, unwashed hair, skin pale from weeks of barely leaving the house. I didn't recognize myself anymore. That night, I dreamed of Miranda's blood on my hands, of Ryan begging for mercy. I woke up sweating, horrified not by the dream itself, but by how satisfying it had felt. What was happening to me? Was I really contemplating murder? Had I fallen so far? I sat on the bathroom floor until dawn, rocking back and forth, torn between the desire for revenge and the fear of what I was becoming. By morning, I had made a decision. If revenge was my only purpose now, I would embrace it fully. But I would be smart, calculated. I wouldn't act from emotion, but from cold, precise planning. Ryan and Miranda had taken everything from me. My marriage, my dreams of motherhood, my dignity, my financial security, my reputation. They deserved to lose everything too. And I would be the one to take it from them. I began by creating a new identity. Abigail Miller would be too recognizable in their circles. I purchased a wig, colored contacts, and a new wardrobe unlike anything in my usual style. Abby became Alexandra, a newly divorced woman who had just moved to Boston for a fresh start. My pharmaceutical knowledge proved invaluable as I researched untraceable poisons, something that would mimic natural causes that would break down in the body quickly, leaving no evidence. I created a small lab in our basement, using equipment and chemicals ordered through untraceable channels. I tested various compounds on rats purchased from a pet store, meticulously documenting their effects, the time to onset, the symptoms. It was like being back in graduate school, except my research had a much darker purpose. The next phase involved getting close to them. I learned that Miranda attended a prenatal yoga class every Tuesday evening at a studio near their condo. I enrolled in the same class, positioning my mat near hers, but not so close as to seem deliberate. For 3 weeks, I observed her without making contact. I learned her mannerisms, the way she spoke to others, the details she shared about her pregnancy. Then, during the 4th class, I made my move. "Is this your first?" I asked casually as we rolled up our mats after class. Miranda smiled, that radiant smile I'd come to hate. "Yes, we're having a little girl." "How wonderful," I replied with practiced warmth. "I'm Alexandra, by the way." "Alex." "Miranda. Nice to meet you." We chatted briefly about the class, about pregnancy symptoms, about Boston neighborhoods. I mentioned being new to the area, recently divorced, looking to make friends. Miranda was instantly sympathetic. "Divorce is so hard," she said, her hand unconsciously moving to her belly. "I went through one myself a few years ago, before meeting Ryan." Hearing his name from her lips sent a jolt through me, but I maintained my composure. "Ryan?" "My partner," she clarified, that prideful glow appearing whenever she mentioned him. "We're expecting this little miracle together." "How wonderful to have found love again after divorce," I said, the words tasting like poison. Our friendship developed gradually over the next few weeks. Coffee after yoga class. Exchanging phone numbers. I was careful to present myself as supportive, understanding, unthreatening. Just another pregnant woman's friend, no one worth remembering clearly if questions were ever asked. Through our conversations, I learned the cracks in their seemingly perfect relationship. Ryan was working long hours, leaving Miranda alone more than she liked. He'd been irritable since the accident, impatient with her pregnancy complaints. He'd promised to be more involved with the nursery preparations, but kept making excuses. "He's still recovering," Miranda would say, defending him. "And work is stressful with all the time he missed." I made sympathetic noises while inwardly rejoicing at their troubles. As I gained her trust, Miranda began confiding deeper concerns. "Sometimes I wonder if I rushed into this relationship too quickly," she admitted during our 5th coffee date. "Ryan can be different when we're alone. Not always the charming man everyone else sees." "Different how?" I asked, careful to keep my tone merely curious, not eager. "Just moodier. More controlling. He has opinions about everything, from what I wear to how I should decorate the nursery. Sometimes I feel like I'm just a vessel for his child, not a partner." I nearly laughed at the irony. "Welcome to the real Ryan Miller," I wanted to say. Instead, I offered, "That must be difficult, especially while pregnant." "It is," she agreed, sighing. "And there's something else. I've found texts on his phone. To someone named Kelsey." Now this was interesting. Friendly texts. Miranda's eyes filled with tears. More than friendly. I confronted him, and he said she's just a colleague, that I'm being hormonal and paranoid. But I've been through this before in my marriage. I know what cheating looks like. Oh, the sweet irony. The mistress worried about being cheated on. I should have felt vindicated, but instead, a strange feeling stirred within me. Was it sympathy? No. I couldn't afford to see Miranda as a person, as another woman being deceived by the same man. She was still the enemy. Still the woman who had helped destroy my life. Yet as our friendship deepened, I found it increasingly difficult to maintain my hatred. Miranda was complex, not the one-dimensional homewrecker I'd imagined. She'd been genuinely deceived about the nature of Ryan's marriage, told that I was abusive, that we were already separated when they met. She'd believed she was saving him, not destroying me. "I feel terrible about his ex-wife," Miranda confided one day. "Ryan says she was unstable, obsessed with getting pregnant. But sometimes I wonder if there's more to the story." You have no idea, I thought. My plan continued to evolve. I created a specialized poison that would be undetectable in food or drink, tasteless and odorless. I practiced adding it to coffee, wine, food, ensuring it dissolved completely. I refined the dosage, calculated the timing. Then came the perfect opportunity. Miranda mentioned they were hosting a housewarming party at their new home, a larger condo they'd purchased to accommodate their growing family. My divorce settlement had finally come through, she explained, and they'd used it as a down payment. My money, funding their dream home. "You should come," Miranda said, touching my arm affectionately. "I'd love for you to see the place. And meet Ryan, of course." "I'd love to," I replied, my heart racing with anticipation. The perfect setting for my revenge. A house full of witnesses, yet plenty of opportunities to administer my carefully crafted poison. "Should I bring anything?" "Just yourself," she smiled. Though Ryan does love a good red wine if you're feeling generous. Red wine. Perfect for disguising any slight discoloration from my special edition. The night before the party, I prepared my weapon. A bottle of expensive Cabernet, carefully opened and doctored with my untraceable compound, then professionally resealed. The poison would take approximately 6 hours to take effect. They would be alone by then, the party long over. Both would consume it, both would suffer, and by morning, Boston would be buzzing with the tragic news of the expectant couple found dead in their new home. I rehearsed my role one final time before the mirror. Alexandra, friendly but forgettable. Just another guest bringing a housewarming gift. Just another face in the crowd who would express shock and sadness when the news broke. As I applied the finishing touches to my disguise, I felt a strange calm settle over me. After weeks of rage and pain, I finally had control again. I would be the architect of their destruction, just as they had been of mine. Justice was within my grasp. The night of the housewarming party arrived crisp and clear, a beautiful October evening. I drove to their new condo building in Cambridge, the doctored wine bottle secure in a gift bag beside me. My hands were steady, my mind clear. Months of pain had crystallized into this single purpose. The building was modern and luxurious, exactly the type of place Ryan had always claimed was trying too hard. Apparently his tastes had changed along with his wife. I took the elevator to the penthouse level, practicing my Alexandra smile in its mirrored walls. Miranda answered the door, resplendent in a floral maternity dress that showcased her now prominent baby bump. "Alex, you made it," she exclaimed, embracing me. Come in. Let me introduce you around." The condo was spectacular, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Charles River. About 20 guests mingled throughout the open concept space, drinking and laughing. I scanned the room for Ryan, but didn't immediately see him. "What a beautiful place," I said, handing Miranda the gift bag. "And a little something to celebrate your new home." "You shouldn't have," she protested, peeking inside. "Oh, Ryan's favorite. You remembered. I'll put this somewhere special for us to enjoy later." "Perfect. Exactly as I'd planned." "Can I get you something to drink?" "We have everything." "Just water for now," I replied. "I'm driving later." Miranda led me through the party, introducing me as her yoga buddy. No one gave me a second glance. Just as I'd hoped, I was forgettable Alexandra, another generic friend in Miranda's expanding social circle. I was chatting with a couple who lived downstairs when I heard a familiar laugh. Ryan. He stood by the kitchen island, holding court with several admirers. He looked completely recovered from the accident, his classic good looks perhaps even enhanced by the slight scar along his jawline. He had his arm draped casually around a young blonde woman who was definitely not pregnant and definitely not Miranda. "That's Kelsey," whispered the wife of the couple I was speaking with. "Miranda's been worried about those too. Can't say I blame her." So this was Kelsey, Ryan's newest conquest. The cycle continuing already, before his child with Miranda was even born. Some things never changed. I excused myself and headed toward the restroom, needing a moment alone. In the hallway, I nearly collided with a familiar face. Dr. Winters, the therapist Heather had tried to get me to see. What was she doing here? She didn't recognize me in my disguise, just murmured an apology and continued past. I slipped into the bathroom, heart pounding. How many connections did this world have? How small was Boston, really? After composing myself, I rejoined the party, keeping my distance from both Ryan and Dr. Winters. I needed to remain invisible, unmemorable. Just another guest who would be forgotten in the tragedy to come. As the evening progressed, I noticed Miranda growing increasingly tense. Her smile became fixed, her laughter forced. Her eyes kept darting to Ryan and Kelsey, who had moved their conversation to a more private corner of the balcony. Around 9, Miranda disappeared down the hallway. Curiosity getting the better of me, I followed at a discreet distance. She entered what appeared to be the master bedroom. Through the partially open door, I could see her sitting on the edge of the bed, head in her hands. Then Ryan appeared, closing the door behind him. I moved closer, positioning myself near enough to hear their conversation without being seen. What exactly is your problem? Ryan's voice, cold and annoyed. My problem? Are you serious? Miranda's voice cracked with emotion. You've been flirting with Kelsey all night. In our home. In front of all our friends. While I'm carrying your child. You're being ridiculous. She's a colleague. A colleague you've been texting at 2 a.m.? A colleague whose ass you can't stop staring at. Keep your voice down. Ryan's tone hardened. You're embarrassing yourself. I'm embarrassing myself? You're the one who can't even pretend to be faithful at our housewarming party. Their voices escalated, the argument intensifying. I heard accusations, denials, the crash of something being thrown. You're just like her, Ryan spat. Just as hysterical, just as clingy. I thought you were different. Her? You mean Abby? The wife you claimed was unstable? Maybe she wasn't the problem, Ryan. Maybe it's you. Don't you dare mention her name, Ryan growled. You have no idea what I went through with her. Actually, I'm starting to get a pretty clear picture, Miranda shot back. How long before you replace me too? Is Kelsey already lined up as your next soulmate? Maybe she should be. At least she doesn't nag me constantly about nursery colors and baby names. Get out, Miranda whispered, her voice suddenly deadly calm. Get out of our home. Our home? This is MY home. Bought with MY money. Your money? The settlement from Abby paid for this place. Money you stole from her while destroying her life. There was a dangerous silence. What did you just say? Ryan's voice had dropped to a menacing whisper. You heard me. I found the bank statements, Ryan. I know where the down payment really came from. And I've talked to your colleagues. I know about the other women before me. This is a pattern for you, isn't it? Find a woman, use her, discard her when you get bored. You ungrateful bitch, Ryan snarled. After everything I've done for you. Done for me? You done nothing but lie to me from the day we met. I'm calling my lawyer tomorrow. I want you out of this condo and out of my life. And what about my child? You think I'll just walk away? Your child? Suddenly you care about the baby? You haven't been to a single appointment in months. That baby is a Miller, and no court will keep me from my child. Watch me, Miranda challenged. I'll tell them everything. How you cheated on your wife with me. How you're already cheating on me with Kelsey. Your pattern of emotional abuse. Let's see who gets custody then. I heard movement, a scuffle. Peering through the crack in the door, I saw Ryan grab Miranda's arm, his face contorted with rage. Let go of me, she cried, trying to pull away. You think you can threaten me? He hissed. You're nothing without me. Nothing. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. Miranda wrenched her arm free and backed away. Ryan lunged forward, his hands outstretched. She stumbled backward, off balance from her pregnancy. Her heel caught on the edge of the rug. She fell, tumbling down the 3 steps that led to their sunken bathroom. I heard her scream, then a sickening thud. Ryan stood frozen, staring at Miranda's crumpled form on the tile floor. Blood began to pool beneath her head. Her body convulsed once, then went still. Without thinking, I burst into the room. What have you done? Ryan whirled, his eyes wild with panic. Alex? What are you? It was an accident. She fell. I rushed past him to Miranda, my medical training taking over. She was unconscious, a gash on her forehead bleeding profusely. I checked her pulse. Weak, but present. Call 911. I ordered, applying pressure to the wound. Now, Ryan. He just stood there, paralyzed. I didn't push her. She tripped. She's pregnant with your child. Call 911 or I will. Something in my voice must have broken through a shock. He fumbled for his phone and dialed. While he spoke to the dispatcher, I continued tending to Miranda, checking her pupils, monitoring her breathing. The baby, Miranda suddenly moaned, regaining consciousness. My baby? Try not to move, I instructed gently. Help is coming. Ryan finished the call and approached cautiously. Is she? She needs a hospital. Now. There's bleeding and possible head trauma. The baby could be in distress. As if on cue, Miranda cried out, clutching her belly. Something's wrong. It hurts. Oh God, it hurts. I recognized the signs immediately. Premature labor triggered by trauma. Ryan, get towels. Lots of them. And call 911 again. Tell them she's in labor. He hesitated, looking between Miranda and the door. I could see the calculation in his eyes. Stay and face the consequences of what had happened, or run. Don't even think about it, I warned. If anything happens to her or this baby, I'm a witness to everything. Something dark flashed across his face. You don't understand. My career, my reputation. Call 911 again. Now. Instead, he backed toward the door. Tell them she fell. It was an accident. I was never here. Before I could respond, he was gone. I heard the bedroom door close, then moments later, the front door of the condo. Alex, Miranda gasped, gripping my hand. Don't leave me. I won't, I promised, reaching for my own phone to call 911 again. I'm right here. As I waited for emergency services, attending to Miranda as best I could with my limited resources, the poisoned wine sat forgotten in the kitchen, my elaborate revenge plan abandoned in the face of a far more immediate crisis. Ryan had revealed his true nature without any help from me. And in doing so, he had given me something unexpected, the chance to save the lives he had carelessly endangered. The ambulance arrived within minutes, though it felt like hours. The EMTs worked efficiently, stabilizing Miranda and preparing her for transport. Are you family? One asked me as they loaded her onto the stretcher. I'm her friend, I replied. Her partner just left her. She has no one else. You can ride with us, he decided. She shouldn't be alone. In the ambulance, Miranda drifted in and out of consciousness, her hand clutching mine whenever she was awake. The baby, she kept whispering. Please save my baby. At the hospital, she was rushed into the trauma unit while I was left in the waiting room, still in my Alexandra disguise, blood staining my clothes. It was there, sitting under the harsh fluorescent lights, that the magnitude of what had happened finally hit me. I had gone to that party planning murder. I had carefully crafted a poison designed to end 2 lives. And yet when the moment came, when I witnessed Ryan's true cruelty firsthand, all thoughts of revenge had vanished. Instead, I had chosen to save the woman I'd hated for months, the woman carrying the child that should have been mine. Hours passed. Eventually, a doctor appeared, looking for family members of Miranda Fisher. I'm her friend, I said, standing. There's no family here. Her partner left. The doctor nodded grimly. Miss Fisher has suffered a concussion and required stitches for the head wound. We've managed to stop the premature labor, but she'll need to remain on bed rest for the remainder of her pregnancy. The baby shows signs of distress, but is stable for now. Can I see her? She's asking for you. But before you go in, the police would like a word. Standard procedure in cases like this. 2 officers waited nearby, notebooks ready. I told them a partial truth, that Miranda and Ryan had argued, that she had fallen, that he had fled the scene. I left out my own identity and my abandoned revenge plan. We'll need to take a full statement, the female officer said. And we'll be looking for Mr. Miller. Leaving the scene of a medical emergency like this is a serious matter. After answering their questions, I was finally allowed to see Miranda. She lay pale against the hospital sheets, monitors beeping steadily beside her, and 4 dripping fluids into her arm. When she saw me, tears filled her eyes. You stayed, she whispered. Of course I stayed. Ryan left me, she said, her voice breaking. He just left me here to die. I know. The police are looking for him. She closed her eyes, tears streaming down her cheeks. I was such a fool. All this time, I thought we had something special. But I was just another conquest, wasn't I? Just like his wife before me. The moment had come. I could continue the charade, remain Alexandra forever, or I could finally reveal the truth. I removed my wig and colored contacts. Miranda's eyes widened in shock. Alex? What are you? My name isn't Alexandra, I said quietly. It's Abigail. Abby, Ryan's wife. Her mouth opened in disbelief, her hand instinctively moving to protect her belly. But how? Why? I came to your party tonight to hurt you, I admitted, the words difficult but necessary. To make you pay for taking my husband, my future, my dreams of a family. I had it all planned out. You were going to kill me, she whispered, understanding dawning in her eyes. Yes, both of you. I wanted revenge. I wanted you to suffer like I had suffered. Why didn't you? Fear tinged her voice. Why did you help me instead? I considered the question carefully. Because when I saw him hurt you, I realized something. We're not enemies, Miranda. We're both victims of the same man. A man who uses women, discards them, and moves on without a second thought. Miranda was silent for a long moment, processing this revelation. The whole time we've been friends, it was all fake? Just part of your plan. At first, yes, I acknowledged. But as I got to know you, it became harder to hate you. You weren't the villain in my story. You were just another woman who fell for Ryan's lies. He told me you were abusive, she said quietly. That you were obsessed with getting pregnant, that you threatened to kill yourself if he left. All lies, I confirmed. We were trying for a baby, yes. But the rest? Pure fiction to justify his betrayal. And I believed him. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. I'm so sorry, Abby. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know you were still together when we met. I believe you. What happens now? She asked, her hand still protectively covering her belly. Are you going to finish what you started? I shook my head. No. That's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. Ryan nearly turned me into someone I wouldn't recognize, someone filled with hatred and vengeance. I won't let him have that power over me anymore. The next few days were a blur of police statements, hospital visits, and difficult conversations. Ryan had disappeared, his car found abandoned at Logan Airport. The police issued a warrant for his arrest on charges of domestic assault and reckless endangerment. Miranda and I formed an unlikely alliance, piecing together the full extent of Ryan's deceptions. He had told each of us different versions of the same lies, manipulated us both financially and emotionally, and had indeed begun grooming Kelsey as his next victim. 2 weeks after the housewarming party disaster, the police called with news. Ryan's body had been found in the woods near a rental cabin in Vermont. Apparent suicide, though the investigation was ongoing. I felt nothing when I heard the news. Not satisfaction, not grief, not closure. Just a hollow emptiness where love had once lived. The funeral was sparsely attended. Ryan's parents, a few colleagues, Miranda and me. No one else. As the pastor spoke generic words about a man he clearly hadn't known, I reflected on how little substance there had been to the husband I'd thought I knew so well. Afterward, standing by the fresh grave, Miranda spoke the words I'd been thinking. In a way, he buried himself long ago. The real Ryan, whoever that was, disappeared behind all those lies. Yes, I agreed. We're just burying the shell he left behind. In the months that followed, Miranda and I continued our unlikely friendship. I helped her prepare for the baby, attended doctor's appointments, painted the nursery in her new apartment. She helped me pack up and sell the house that held too many painful memories, supported me as I returned to my research work, and began rebuilding my life. Why are you doing this? She asked one day as we assembled a crib. After everything that happened, why help me? Help us. Her hand rested on her now enormous belly. Because holding on to hatred was destroying me, I explained. The revenge I planned wouldn't have brought me peace. It would have just created more pain, more destruction. I had to bury that part of myself, the part consumed by bitterness, to find healing. You saved us, Miranda said simply. Me and the baby. You could have let us die, but you chose compassion instead. In saving you, I saved myself too. When little Emma Catherine Fisher was born on a snowy February morning, I was there in the delivery room, holding Miranda's hand through each contraction, welcoming the tiny life that had, in a strange way, brought healing to us both. I want you to be her godmother, Miranda told me as I held the newborn, marveling at her perfect fingers and the tuft of dark hair so unlike either of her parents. Are you sure? More than sure. You're the strongest, most forgiving person I know. That's exactly the kind of influence I want in her life. 6 months later, I stood in front of the ocean at sunrise, a small box in my hands. Inside were mementos of my marriage to Ryan, my wedding ring, photos, love letters. Symbols of a life built on lies. I opened the box one last time, then closed it firmly and waded into the water. With a deep breath, I threw it as far as I could, watching it disappear beneath the waves. This was the real burial I needed. Not of bodies, but of the past. Of the woman I'd almost become in my darkest moments. Of the hatred that had nearly consumed me. As I stood there, water swirling around my ankles, I felt truly free for the first time since that fateful phone call from Officer Bennett. I had buried the parts of myself that needed to die so that something new could grow in their place. Something stronger, wiser, more compassionate. Emma was waiting for me to take her to the park. Miranda was dating a kind pediatrician she'd met at a parenting class. I had recently been promoted at work and had started seeing a thoughtful professor who made me laugh again. Life was moving forward. The title of this story, I found out about my husband's affair when the police called to ask about his partner. I buried them both, is true, but not in the way you might have initially thought. I didn't bury bodies. I buried the past. I buried my rage. I buried the woman who was so consumed by revenge that she nearly became a monster herself. What are your thoughts on forgiveness after betrayal? Have you ever had to bury a part of yourself to move forward? Please share your experiences in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear that healing is possible, even after the deepest betrayals. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and remember, sometimes the most important burials aren't of others, but of the darkest parts of ourselves.